I'm going to call this video Flitting. That's Flitting, Flitting at the Fringe. And if you just sit here in Pavilion Gardens Cafe in Brighton, you'll see people sitting very still for could be half an hour or an hour, not flitting. There are people here who sit, have their coffee for maybe 20 minutes. Some take out their phones and then start flitting on the screen. Others don't. It's a place actually that invites you not to flit. Now, if I just show you over there, there is one of the staff members, very creative guy, is doing a painting. And he's in a flow state. He's been given a few days by his boss to do a painting of the cafe because he's good at painting. And actually, apparently I'm in it. There's a guy sitting at this exact table with this hat on, and it's in that painting, which I don't know whether to be flattered or terrified, but he's a good painter, so hopefully flattered. And when I asked him why he hadn't worked on it much, he was pointing out also that he's kind of forced into flitting because he's a very polite chap, and when he's doing this and the cafe is busy, people keep going up to him and talking to him, and he turns his head and he's flitting, talking to this person, that person, and of course the price of that is the painting doesn't get done. And any flow state he was in, really enjoying painting, sometimes even though he's back on the painting, he's been sort of interrupted. And I'm not sure, unless you choose to have a little bit of time where you're enjoying it, that flitting is always good for you to go properly into things. And what's that got to do with Fringe festivals that are really, really busy? And it's simply that if I think of, actually we just had Brighton Fringe, and certainly in the busy places in Brighton where there's a lot of Fringe, it's impossible not to flit. And when I sit here during May doing a bit of writing, I'm constantly interrupted because I just know a lot of people here and they're looking over and saying hello, coming to sit with me, and just I can hear noises around me that are far more disruptive, simply because it's just very, very busy here. And actually for me, it sort of works for me in some cases. I quite like writing and being interrupted at the same time. But when I really do need a deep think, when I'm really working through something that could lead to some significant and important insights, it could be I'm sitting back and I really want to think through a thought that's in my writing, or I've got a problem, I've got something on my mind. Being constantly interrupted and flitting here and there with my attention is no good for me at all. And it's possible at something like the Edinburgh Fringe for you to arrive there in town in the morning, even you might be staying with people, and literally when your head hits the pillow at night, you've been flitting constantly. And I notice it in conversations because somebody might ask me a question and I'm genuinely giving them a very sincere answer, and I just notice their eyes are dotting everywhere. And some people absolutely walk away from me when someone else just comes in and says hello. I think we tolerate it, and I think we kind of see that as the norm in such a busy place. But if, for example, you're a theatre maker and you've had a review that's absolutely got you thinking, you might be quite grumpy about it, but actually they pointed to something you really need to think through and it's a bit of useful feedback. Or that you've got a technical problem on stage, or you're not selling enough tickets, or your well-being is just not okay at the moment, something's bothering you, something's happened, and what you really need to do is to focus and is to sit down, and you can't find a cafe anywhere or a quiet place in the city because every noise is making you flit here or there. That can be a real problem, and it can mean you don't solve those problems, and that can have an absolutely lasting effect on you not being able to improve your show. Work on a little bit of it, clear the air in your head that's foggy with all sorts of ideas. Flitting, of course, I think online it used to be called wilfing, what was I looking for, where you go online very specifically looking for something that you really need to find. It could be that you're booking a train ticket, it could be you're looking for the answer to a problem, that you're trying to read something really important. And pop-ups happen all the time, and they just pop up, have you done this, have you clicked on that, adverts in your face. I notice now that whenever you visit a website, the only thing they care about is that you accept their cookies. And even though that's illegal for them to always impose them on you, and they have to warn you, accept them, reject them, pay for this, pay for that, it's constantly flitting your attention here and there. And I certainly noticed at the Edinburgh Fringe that I would sit down in Edinburgh. They have a place called Fringe Central where there are performers, there are some sofas. It's a place to go and sometimes get away from things as well. And I'm hearing the cast of a show, maybe with their producer or director, talking through something really important about their show, and they can't get the story done. They can't get the conversation finished. They go through the motions. There's quite a bit of conflict and disagreement because people are only half hearing what each other are saying, because half of the group, if not all of them, are flitting here and there with their eyes, with their attention. They just can't focus. And of course the phones come out too. So I noticed that it's possible to develop, and I said it in another video and called it kind of a calmness and equanimity, which is around being able to resist flitting without that resistance being more flitting. It's about gentleness. It's about developing a habit that you don't allow your attention to wander and you stay focused. And there are definitely places, even in the Edinburgh Fringe, where you can find calm. Even in the middle of Edinburgh, the Meadows, which is a really, really noisy place, there will be a tree you can go and sit under if it's not raining. You can head a little bit out of town and at the right time find that quiet cafe. You might decide to come out of your flat, your student room, wherever you're staying, half an hour later, just to sit down with a coffee and no media on, just to be able to just think nothing, just clear your head. But also it can be you just need quality time with yourself. I think that you might hear the birds in the background here. I've got used to them. They seem to calm me. I'm not flitting normally to listen to them. And I think some of the things that helps you work through particularly are problems that need thinking through, something that needs deeper thinking, sometimes just the need to get away from that noise and coming back to yourself, which sets you up better for your colleagues, your fellow cast members, your fellow marketing team. Flitting is fun. Flitting is a way of feeling alive. Taking your attention here and there adds diversity to your life. But equally, it steals from you the thing that's most needed. I think for a lot of people, being well is well-being. And being well sometimes means that you're able to flow without interruption, and finding those spaces to turn off the phone, to not be wilfing. What was I looking for, it stands for, because you started looking for one thing and you went off and you began looking for, maybe you needed some new lights for your show and you were going to buy a particular light, but you're ending up looking at timeshare in Thailand or Australia or somewhere like that. Definitely in cities there are parks, there are squares, there are park benches. To give the example of Edinburgh, if you're up on Nicholson Street, you may not have visited it, and near a big venue called The Space, and there's one street you can walk down, cross over past Pleasance, and you are literally in the countryside. And you can literally head off into the trees and put your back to a tree, and suddenly you can hear the rumble of the city, but it's just there in the background, almost comfortingly, and you'll hear these birds. Here, then you'll get used to them and you'll find you'll get half an hour without flitting, and that's when things start to resolve, that's when things start to become clear, and that's when you can flow without interruption. So flitting at the Fringe, apart from the excitement it can sometimes bring, the sense of aliveness of here, there and everywhere, flitting can get in the way of the really essential thoughts that you need, so you can look back on your Fringe and solve the problems, looked into the questions, cleared the air, found yourself again, and that's as important, I think, as when we are busy and we think we're being productive just because we're flitting here, there and everywhere.